All right, so are you ready to take a deep dive today into the world of AI?
Always ready to dive in.
Because today's topic is pretty huge, coming out of China, and it's got everybody buzzing, it seems like.
Yeah, it's really shaking things up.
We're talking DeepSeek R2, and our source article lays it all out. It's called DeepSeek R2. China redefines the global AI race.
And it really does redefine it.
It's pretty fascinating, honestly. A little unsettling.
I can understand why you'd say that the AI landscape has always been competitive, but R2's entry is a whole new dimension.
Absolutely. So let's start with DeepSeek itself. I mean, they kind of seem to have appeared out of thin air.
It does seem that way, right? Founded just last year in 2023 by a group of Chinese tech giants along with top universities. DeepSeek's goals were clearly ambitious right from day one.
Yeah, that's a powerful combination, right? Big money and serious brain power. No wonder they've been moving so fast.
Their initial focus was what they called practical intelligence, basically trying to create AI that would directly integrate into industries and research.
So while other companies like OpenAI were focused on chatbots that can write poems and things, DeepSeek was taking a different approach.
Exactly. They were looking at things like making systems more efficient, optimizing manufacturing processes, accelerating scientific discovery, all things with a very real impact on the Chinese economy.
Okay, so that's the background on DeepSeek. But this new R2 model, that's what's really got people talking. The article called it a generational leap. What makes it so different?
It's several things. First, the sheer scale of it is pretty impressive. R2 boasts 1.8 trillion parameters. That's even bigger than GPT-4.
Those are some big numbers for sure. But I'm guessing it's not just about size.
No, you're right. They've also made some big advancements in the underlying architecture. They've combined traditional language processing with something called a spiking neural network.
Spiking neural network. Okay, I'm going to need you to explain that one.
Okay, well, imagine a system that processes information more like our brains do, using pulses of activity instead of just crunching data in a linear way. This allows R2 to handle real-time input, like video or sensor data, making it much more adaptable to real-world situations.
So it's not just understanding text, it's almost like R2 can perceive and react to its surroundings.
That's a good way to put it. And that's where those real-world applications become really apparent. Imagine R2 controlling traffic flow in a city, reacting to changing conditions instantly, or monitoring a complex industrial process, making adjustments in real time to boost efficiency. The possibilities are pretty vast.
That's mind-blowing. But even with this new architecture training, a model that massive must take forever.
You'd think so, but that's where their second breakthrough comes in. They developed a new training method called dynamic meta-learning, or DML.
Okay, break that down for me. What is dynamic meta-learning?
Think of it like this. R2 isn't just learning from the data it's given. It's also learning how to learn more efficiently. It can actually adjust its own learning parameters on the fly depending on the task at hand.
So it's evolving its own learning process as it goes. That's incredible.
Exactly. And this has a huge impact on both the speed and accuracy of its learning. R2 can master new skills and adapt to new situations much faster than any previous models.
Okay, so we've got this massive model with a revolutionary architecture and this super efficient learning process.
Yeah.
What's the third big thing? The article mentioned energy efficiency.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting strategically. Despite its size, R2 actually uses less energy than its predecessor, thanks to custom-designed chips optimized for its operations.
Hold on, bigger, faster, and more efficient. How is that even possible?
It comes down to a different approach. DeepSeek isn't just throwing more processing power at the problem. They're thinking about the system holistically, from algorithms to the hardware. This optimization gives them a real edge, especially as energy costs keep rising.
Wow, it's like they thought of everything. So on paper, R2 sounds incredibly powerful, but how does it actually perform? Does it live up to the hype?
The independent evaluations have been pretty remarkable. In areas like reasoning and problem solving, R2 is already outperforming ChatGPT-4. And it's showing an incredible aptitude for something called zero-shot learning.
Zero-shot learning? That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. What does that even mean?
It means R2 can adapt to new tasks and solve problems it's never seen before without explicit programming. Like if you need R2 to analyze a new type of data, say sensor readings from some new equipment, it can figure out how to do that without a programmer having to write specific instructions.
So it's not just learning fast, it's learning creatively. That's a total game changer for anyone working with complex systems.
Absolutely. And that brings us to why DeepSeek decided to launch R2 ahead of schedule. It was a calculated move with a lot of strategic implications.
I bet it's like they dropped a bombshell on the whole AI world.
Indeed. First, it let them capitalize on the delays their Western competitors were facing. OpenAI's GPT-5 was behind schedule, and Google's Gemini was having scalability issues. DeepSeek saw that opening, and they took it.
Timing is everything, right? So they preempted the competition. What else were they aiming for with this early launch?
Well, it also aligns with China's national goals. They've been pushing hard for technological independence, especially with all the sanctions and trade tensions. R2 is a huge symbol of their progress in that area.
Yeah, it's a statement for sure. It's like they're saying, we can do this ourselves and we can do it better.
And of course, there's the economic aspect. The Asian market for industrial AI is growing really fast, and DeepSeek wants to be in control. They've already got partnerships with major companies like Huawei and BYD. They're clearly setting themselves up to be the provider for AI solutions across industries.
So it's not just about bragging rights, it's about real-world power. Economic power, strategic power.
That's a key takeaway. R2 isn't just a cool new gadget. It's a potential shift in the balance of power, both in the tech world and on the global stage.
So DeepSeek launches R2 early, and everyone's jaws are on the floor. What have the reactions been like so far?
It's been a really fascinating mix. OpenAI, while acknowledging R2's abilities, has been quick to highlight their own focus on ethical development.
Interesting. A little shade being thrown there.
Perhaps. And the EU is already taking notice. They're launching a review to see if R2 complies with their AI regulations. They're especially concerned about potential military uses, given that dual-use nature of the technology.
Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms, isn't it? This kind of AI could be used for so many things, good and bad.
Absolutely. And of course, Silicon Valley is scrambling to catch up. We're seeing a surge in funding for research, public-private partnerships forming. And the competition for talent is really heating up.
So the U.S. isn't just going to sit back and watch China take the lead.
Not if they can help it.
Okay.
This is a Sputnik moment for AI. It's a wake-up call that the competition is serious and the stakes are incredibly high.
Speaking of wake-up calls, there's another part of this story that's even more mind-boggling. The whole concept of the singularity.
Yes. The idea that AI could eventually become smarter than humans and basically take over its own development, it's been debated for decades. But R2's capabilities have definitely brought it back into the spotlight.
Yeah, the article mentions that DeepSeek's CEO is predicting that their next model R3 could achieve self-directed learning by 2026. That's terrifyingly soon.
It's a bold prediction for sure. And it raises a lot of uncomfortable questions about control ethics and even the future of humanity.
Okay, I think we need to take a deep breath here. This is getting pretty heavy.
Yeah,
But you're right, this is serious stuff.
it is. And it's something we all need to be thinking about. Not just the tech experts. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's happening right now.
Right. Well, on that note, we're going to take a pause here and come back for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into what all this means. You definitely don't want to miss it. So we talked about DeepSeek R2 and its impact on AI, and even touched on the singularity. But now I want to talk about what it means for the average person.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's easy to get lost in the technical stuff and the geopolitics, but ultimately this is about AI shaping our lives.
Exactly. So where are we seeing AI's impact already, and how might R2 speed things up?
Well, one area is automation. We're seeing it in manufacturing, logistics, customer service, even creative fields like writing and art.
Right, those headlines about robots taking jobs. But is it that bad, or is there another way to look at it?
Well, AI is a tool, right? Like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. Some jobs will be automated, but it can also create new opportunities and make existing jobs better.
So not replacing humans, but helping us do more.
Exactly. Imagine a doctor using AI to analyze medical images more accurately, or a teacher personalizing lessons for each student based on how they learn. AI can free us from boring tasks and let us focus on things that need human skills. Creativity, empathy, critical thinking.
That's a more optimistic view. So it's not us versus machines, but us with machines.
Exactly. It's finding the right balance. And that means we need to plan and adapt. We need to educate and train people for this new reality and make sure the benefits of AI are shared by everyone.
So it's not just the tech, but the social and economic structures around it.
Right. And that brings up another point. Access. Who has access to AI and who benefits?
Is AI going to make inequality worse, or can it make things more fair?
That's a tough one. The answer depends on the choices we make. It's possible that AI could be used to give more power and wealth to a few, but it could also empower those who are struggling and level the playing field.
Can you give an example?
Imagine AI-powered healthcare, providing diagnoses and treatment recommendations no matter where you live or how much money you make. Or an education platform that adapts to different learning styles and helps all students succeed.
Those are great examples. But how do we make sure AI is used for good, that it benefits everyone, not just a select few?
It's going to take a lot of things. We need responsible regulation, ethical guidelines for developers and public education so people understand the issues.
So it's not just the tech companies. It's governments, policymakers, even individuals taking responsibility.
Exactly. We all have a part to play.
Okay, so we've talked about some benefits of AI, but let's be real. There are some serious concerns too. The article mentions job losses, algorithmic bias, even AI being used to harm people.
Those are valid concerns.
Yeah.
We need to face them head on. Job displacement is real. We need retraining programs and safety nets for those affected.
We can't just hope for the best and ignore the bad stuff.
Right, and algorithmic bias is a big deal. If AI systems learn from biased data, they'll just continue that bias.
Yeah.
We have to be careful about the data we use and make sure AI is designed to be fair.
Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Exactly. And the potential for AI to be used for harm is something we need to think about carefully. We need safeguards, ethical guidelines, and international cooperation to make sure AI is developed and used responsibly.
Sounds like we need a whole new set of rules for this AI era.
We do. And those rules need to be made together with experts in tech ethics law and social sciences.
It's a huge challenge, but we can't ignore it.
Definitely. The stakes are high. The choices we make now will decide how AI develops for years to come, and that will shape the world we live in.
So what can we do as individuals? It feels so big and complicated. Where do we even start?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore more in the last part, because it's not about becoming AI experts. It's about understanding that we all have a part to play, and that together we can make a difference.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive, R2. The global AI race. The big picture for society.
Yeah, a lot to think about. I bet some of our listeners are feeling kind of overwhelmed.
I get it. It's moving so fast. But that's why I wanted to spend this last part talking about what we can do.
I agree. We can't just sit back and watch this happen. We have to be a part of it.
So let's get practical. What can our listeners actually do to make a difference in this new world?
Well, the first thing is always education, right? The more we understand about AI, the better we can deal with it.
Okay, so reading articles, listening to podcasts, taking courses. But what about beyond that? How can we actually influence how AI develops?
One way is to support organizations working on AI ethics and safety. There are groups out there pushing for responsible development regulations, research on the risks.
So donating to them, volunteering, spreading the word.
Exactly. And it's not just money. You can use your voice, talk to your friends and family, write to your elected officials, advocate for policies that make sure AI is developed responsibly.
Taking action at every level, from our personal conversations to the political process.
Right. And don't underestimate those conversations. The more we talk, the more awareness we raise, the more pressure we put on those in power to do the right thing.
What about our jobs? What can we do at work to promote responsible AI?
If you're in tech, you can push for ethical considerations in design and development, transparency, fairness, accountability.
And even if we're not in AI development, we can still ask questions about how it's used in our workplaces, right?
Of course. If your company uses AI tools, ask about data privacy, unintended consequences, the safeguards they have. Don't be afraid to bring it up with your managers or HR.
It's about holding everyone accountable. Our employers, our governments, the tech companies.
Exactly. We're not just passive consumers of technology. We have a voice, and we can use it to shape the future of AI.
So as we wrap up, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
The future of AI isn't set in stone. It's being written now, and we all have a say. Don't be afraid to ask questions, speak up, and demand a future where AI is used for good, for all of us.
That's a great message. And on that note, I want to thank you and thank all of our listeners for joining us. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep pushing for a future where technology helps humanity, not the other way around.